Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. If you're the kind of person who just loves distilling massive ideas into actionable insights, well, you're in exactly the right place today. We're going to be breaking down what is literally one of the most iconic pieces of modern rhetoric, Steve Jobs' 2005 Stanford commencement address. But, we aren't just going to sit here and read it. We're going to visually unpack the whole thing, right here, really isolating the three core philosophies that defined his totally extraordinary journey. Let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Jobs explicitly structured his speech to be, as he put it, just three stories. And these perfectly map out human growth, hindsight, resilience, and perspective. So our agenda today maps out those exact stories. 1. Connecting the dots. 2. Love and loss. And 3. Death and intuition.
Section 1, Connecting the Dots. The Power of Hindsight. It's all about how seemingly random or even scary life events eventually build our destiny.
Jobs' early path was incredibly uncertain. He chose this really expensive college that completely drained his working-class parents' savings. So after just 6 months, he drops out. For the next 18 months, he's sleeping on friends' floors and returning Coke bottles just to get that 5-cent deposit to buy food. But actually, dropping out gave him the freedom to drop in on a calligraphy class. He learned all about beautiful serif and sans serif typography. Now, at the time, this had absolutely zero practical application. None. Yet, wait for it, 10 years later, that highly specific knowledge beautifully paid off. It became the absolute foundation for the Macintosh's revolutionary design.
And this brilliantly illustrates his core philosophy right here. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. You literally just have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, right? Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever it is. Because believing that those dots will eventually connect down the road is exactly the thing that gives you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you completely off the well-worn path. Moving right along to Section 2, Love, Loss, and Starting Over, the Alchemy of Resilience. This phase focuses entirely on a devastating career setback and the massive resilience that followed. Now, to really understand the fall, we have to understand the heights. $2 billion. That is massive. Think about this. Jobs and his co-founder Wozniak started Apple in a garage when Jobs was just 20 years old. Over the next decade of working incredibly hard, they grew from just the two of them in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. They had just released their absolute finest creation, the Macintosh, and he had just turned 30. And then, boom, the blunt reality hits. Fired at 30. You might be wondering, how on earth do you get fired from the very company you created? Well, Jobs explains that as Apple grew, they hired someone he thought was super talented to help run things. But eventually, their visions of the future just completely diverged. They had a falling out, and the board of directors actually sided with the new hire. So at 30 years old, Jobs was out. And I mean very publicly out. The entire focus of his adult life was just gone. He felt like a total failure, like he had completely dropped the baton just as the previous generation of entrepreneurs was passing it to him. But what's really interesting about this is the profound mental shift that happened next. Jobs realized that getting fired was, awful tasting medicine, but the patient absolutely needed it. He traded the incredible heaviness of being successful, where you're expected to have all the answers all the time, for the lightness of being a beginner again. He was way less sure about everything, but that exact feeling completely freed him. It replaced that heavy burden with the creative agility of starting over. And that lightness sparked this incredible 5-year creative renaissance. Step 1, he founds a company called Next. Step 2, he founds another company called Pixar. And they go on to create the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, eventually becoming the most successful animation studio in the world. Oh, and during this time, he also met and fell in love with an amazing woman, Lorene, who would become his wife. Then, step 3, in a totally remarkable turn of events, Apple buys Next. Jobs returns to Apple, and the exact technology they developed at Next becomes the absolute heart of Apple's modern renaissance. None of that, literally none of it, would have happened without that massive public failure. As Jobs put it, sometimes life is going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. The core lesson here, the only thing that kept him going, was his sheer love for his work. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. Just like any great relationship, it only gets better and better as the years roll on. Section 3, Death as Life's Invention. The ultimate perspective. We're going to slow down a bit here to really honor the gravity of this profoundly personal existential reflection. So the crucial point is all anchored to this single question. When Jobs was 17, he read a quote that basically suggested living each day as if it were your last. And it made such a deep impression on him that for the next 33 years, he looked in the mirror every single morning and asked himself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And he noted that whenever the answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew, for sure, he needed to change something. You see, Jobs viewed death not just as some final destination, but as a utility. Remembering that you'll be dead soon is, in his eyes, the absolute most important tool for making big life choices. Why? Well, because the face of death strips away all external expectations. It strips away all pride. It strips away all fear of embarrassment or failure. It leaves only what is truly important. Because as he bluntly put it, remembering you are going to die avoids the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. Right now, you are the new, but someday, and probably sooner than you think, you will become the old and be cleared away. Death is quite literally life's single best invention and its primary change agent. And because your time is limited, Jobs urgently warned us against falling into these traps. Do not waste your life living someone else's. Do not be trapped by dogma, which, by the way, is just living with the results of other people's thinking. Do not let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. You absolutely must have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. Somehow, they already know what you truly want to become. Everything else, it's completely secondary. Stay hungry, stay foolish. This was the final, incredibly provocative thought he left the Stanford graduates with. And honestly, it's the exact thought I want to leave you with today. We've seen how trusting your curiosity builds the future, how failure removes the heavy burden of success, and how confronting our own mortality clarifies literally everything. So, here is my final question for you. Knowing all of this, knowing that you are already naked and have absolutely nothing to lose, how will you apply this ultimate lesson to start connecting your own dots today? Keep looking. Don't settle.